Seema, welcome to the podcast. It is such an honor to have you here with us.
Thank you so much, Payal. I appreciate it. In fact, I should be saying the same to you. I am really honored and delighted to be part of your podcast.
So nice to have you
Thank
here,
you.
Seema. I was looking at your journey, and you did you always have you know that focus that you want to start in HR in human resources, or how was the career journey starting off?
Okay. See, I was never an HR professional when I started my journey. So it came along with it. So actually, it's been great, full of excitement in terms of transformation
Okay.
across. So let me talk about the era then and now.
Uh-huh.
So be it work culture, ethos, technology, and behaviors, a lot of things have changed over the last 2, 3 decades. So when I started my career in late 80s, early 90s, it was totally a different context. And there were not many women seen at workplace, first of all. So what we talk about diversity, equity, inclusion, which is right now in the forefront these days, was not, never imagined and even thought of.
Okay.
So at that time, very few women were seen at middle management roles, forget about leadership roles. And I come from a middle class family where I had to really convince my father to allow me to work.
Oh,
The word
wow.
is allow me to work,
Hmm.
as working in office workplace was always my passion. And from that era to current state, I have come a long way, broken many stereotypes and changed many mindsets over the years, be it my family members, my colleagues, my seniors, even my children, as a matter of fact, you know. And when I started as a marketing professional. I was working with Motorola and doing the marketing work for their walkie-talkies at that time. And that's the time when AT&T, the telecom giant, was setting up office in India as a Leisner office, small office. And they were looking for the relevant kind of skill sets. And I was handpicked by them along with my few other colleagues from Motorola.
Hmm.
And then we started the journey. So they said, it's a small office. Do you mind looking after some part of HR as well? Because I had done my major minor both in marketing and HR at that point of time. So I said, yes, why not? And that's the time, and there's no looking back since then. So this is how the journey started. And now, when I see young women professionals, I feel so proud and content that the initial context setting has been done by their predecessors. And now they have to take it forward and create a better world for future generations. So, this was,
Absolutely.
in a nutshell, my career journey you could imagine.
Very, very inspiring. And Seema, you mentioned about that word that in those days I had to ask if I'm allowed to work. And earlier, when you and I were connecting, you spoke about your two daughters. How is it now? Are they also, do you encourage them, or is it like now also you feel that they have to ask if they're allowed to work or not? How are you as a mom to them when it comes to the career side?
I think, as I said, things, the context has changed, the mindset has changed. Now it is the thing that everybody is working, be it a boy of the family or girl of the family, right? So it was like embedded that when they qualify, they will go back to their career, whichever career options they opt for. And I'm so happy to share that they always looked at me as a role model. I remember my older daughter when she was young, and I came back home. I used to come back home very late in the nights, for a few years.
Uh,
And I would, when I came back from work to home, I saw her just doing exactly what the same mannerism, the same way I, deal with people around. And she had the same kind of attire. So I asked her, what are you doing? She says, this is how I want to be when I grow up. So I think
oh,
from their childhood, they were always encouraged. And that's why they both picked up their own choices of career, and they are in their best of their careers at the moment.
absolutely. And they have a
So no
mom like you,
question of
so
asking or
inspiring.
allowing. Yeah, it was always there in their mind. Yeah.
So nice. They have an inspiring mom like you. So obviously, I mean, that just goes without saying. But I'm sure your journey has also not been smooth. And earlier, when you and I spoke, you said that you really advocate behaviors as a stepping stone to success. So, in your journey, what are some of the behaviors you have had to change in you to get to where you are?
Sure. So you asked me two questions, and I would like to answer it both separately. So,
Mm-hmm.
yes, I do advocate behavior as a stepping stone to any kind of success. And behavior is something which can break or save the deal, be at your workplace, at home, or even within your community. This is a key
Absolutely.
differentiator. And I've seen many businesses, I don't want to name them, falling apart or done well. Of course, strong strategy, sense of business dynamics are required for any successful business model to thrive. But people behind driving those needs is to have best of their behaviors to make that happen. And I would like to quote here that I no longer listen to what people say. I just watch what they do. Behavior never lies. So, this is a famous quote by
Very right.
Winston Churchill, which something I believe in, and I have always seen that happen. Now, let's understand where does this behavior come from. It's very important. Where does it come from? Where does it, what is the source of a behavior? So basically, it comes from our emotions. Yeah, you got it right. Emotions are something that we've been taught not to share, especially at
Yeah.
workplace. They
Yeah.
say go with logical thinking. Emotions don't show your emotions. Emotions don't work. But I realize when you ignore emotions and you go with only logical thinking, somewhere you are compromising with yourself, and that affects your behavior.
Mm.
Now, let me share a story which comes from my life. In
Sure.
one organization, I was assigned a particular task which was not to my liking. I was not enjoying doing it, and my heart wasn't there. And gradually, I started disowning, disrespecting that work,
Oh.
and my behavior started. I mean, my behavior, I became very grouchy, short tempered towards my colleague. And at that time, fortunately, I came across a person who taught me that to start recognizing my emotion at a time when I'm not in best of my, you know, of self. So I started recognizing, and I felt that this is something I don't like enjoying. Let me have a dialogue with my manager,
So more
and
like a self-awareness of your emotion.
exactly, exactly. So deep diving into that frame of mind, I recognize my emotion and I share the same with my manager. And surprisingly, his response was, "Oh, why didn't you not tell me earlier?" And he changed my role.
More
I was
supportive.
assigned to another. Yes, exactly. And instantly my emotion changed towards my manager, towards my colleague, towards my work. And it created a positive impact on my behavior. And I believe that awareness creates possibilities. If I wasn't aware that where this emotion coming from, I would have not created that another scenario. Yeah, so this is the mantra for me is emotions plus behavior is equal to success.
True.
And to answer your second question, yes, I had to change certain behaviors. I don't mind sharing that I was always carrying ego raincoat pile, which was not difficult for people around me, but for me to carry it all the time with rain or without rain.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah. And I know it all was my main culprit, my behavior. That what are you telling me? Oh, I know it all. This I have done it before. So I know it better. So I started acknowledging whenever I would have that emotion. And I will take a step back and I would do something like called balcony and dance. So I would watch myself, how I am behaving,
Uh,
and then oh my gosh, I'm losing so much of knowledge and learning by wearing I know it all mask. And then the masks removed, the real self started appreciating exchange of ideas, and which further built my listening capability to
okay.
start with.
Wow.
Yeah.
So somebody helped you to understand your behavior, or you were very self-aware and conscious?
See, we are all very self-conscious and aware, Payal, but somebody is there to tap it, to help us tap that. And I was very fortunate to have some good managers around me, very motivating. And I see some of them as my role model, at least two of them. I learned a lot. So they were there to support. And why they were there to support? Because the organization where I was working, that was very supportive.
Okay.
And this is my message to the, the current organizations and future organizations, that be supportive of your employees' emotions as well, not
Yeah.
just the logical thinking, because it impacts the overall performance.
Absolutely. And like you said, it's all about the emotions and how you recognize them. My dad would always tell me, that half your battle is won when you recognize and are self-aware of your habits and behaviors, and then you can rectify them. So I think that's something so important. And earlier also when we spoke, I had caught something which you had said is about fear, and now is about ego. So fear and ego, when you and I were discussing that these are behaviors that are considered negative. And I know you had a completely different point of view. So would love to have you talk on that over here.
Sure. So I have observed a lot of people. I mean, I worked across levels and experiences, territories, The one common aspect which I realize is people generally react, but they don't respond, to any situation. And that reaction, which is most of the time is not so um, positive, it comes either due to ego. It
Mhm.
could be again both positive. Ego, sometimes we look at it positive also, which I agree. But generally, it is self created ego, which is the prime comes from, oh, I know it all.
Mm.
And this leads to having poor listening and assimilation skills. And then further lead to lack of compassion, empathy. Because if you're not hearing the other person properly or listening,
Mm.
then there's no heart to heart conversation, there's no connect. And when there's no connect, there's no empathy, no compassion. It's more like, like a machine, like a bot.
Yeah.
And yeah, and the second aspect, I look at it as due to fear. Now, a lot of people have fear of losing, fear of face loss, fear of what if I fail. So, what if I fail is the biggest fear in the minds of people, and that comes in the front through their behavior, you know. And while I'm sure you must have heard something called amygdala, right?
Mhm.
It's a bean-sized organ back of
Yeah,
our
yeah. The amygdala, yes,
brain,
it's
right?
brain. Yeah,
So when amygdala hijack happens, you start reacting rather than responding,
absolutely.
And why that hijack happens? Because your emotion is not in your control, or you're not managing your emotion. So once we allow that hijack, we are at the mercy of our emotion, of
Mm.
reaction, hence impacting our behavior. I hope I'm not sounding too
No, no,
technical or
I'm so intrigued by this because in so many of my workshops and all, I talk about this brain part amygdala and how, if we are not able to respond properly to the behaviors, the emotions that are flowing inside of it, whether it is doubt or positive or negative emotions, it just really hijacks your thought process, and then you behave in a certain manner, which when you look back, you feel, oh, I should have not behaved this way.
absolutely, absolutely. So
So
you and
glad
I
you
are
brought
on the
this out.
same page.
Yes, yes, I'm so
Yeah,
glad that you brought this out. Absolutely.
sure, Payal. Thank you.
So, Seema, you have worked across various industries. You've met so many people. You're a people person. Definitely, you've seen common behaviors in people that slows them down, that does not allow them to achieve the success that they want. What are some of those behaviors that stop people from achieving higher success?
Yeah. I think the first main culprit is false ego, which leads to behaviors like lack of listening, pride, prejudice, lack of humbleness, strong, rigid demeanor. You keep wearing that raincoat or the mask, you know. So you don't allow yourself to be true to yourself, the true self of yours. So I
Mhm.
understand that everybody is unique and have a unique style of responding to any situation. Now, let me give you an example here, which is my favorite and very simple example. Now, let's say there's a flight delay announcement at the airport. Now, one person will look at this situation as, oh, good, I get more time to complete my book reading or do more shopping or more chatting, calling up friends and catching up with them. Now, there's another person who feels, oh, what is this? He starts arguing with the ground staff, pick up a
Yeah.
fight, and spoils the mood around, the energy around, and see same situation, but two different reactions or
Yeah.
responses, I would say, right? So obviously, the second person who is in foul mood will pass on the same energy to his
Yeah.
co-passengers,
Yeah.
family members, right? And circle of influence will expand in a wrong way. So I think these are common behaviors, and as as an HR, my endeavor was always to create that awareness because, as I said, if you create awareness, you are creating more possibilities for people to understand themselves better, right?
Yeah. Love the
So,
example. So good. Yeah. The example you gave is so true. People blame the economy and this and that, but they absolutely don't see how they are reacting or responding to a certain situation.
absolutely. And we forget that whatever the situation may be, according to you, not so good or so good, I mean, use that situation. Instead, use it to the best, of your ability and
Right.
learn from it. Yeah.
Very true. So I know you mentioned that self-awareness is one of the ways that you can help to improve your behaviors. Um, what are some of the behaviors that the top management looks for while they want to promote someone? Apart from the skills, what are they looking for in the behavior patterns of people?
Yeah, there could be many things, different things to different organization, but common factor which I see, I'll give you an example of an organization. I can take the name because they are very proud of their winning behaviors, set of behaviors. It's called
Mhm.
winning behaviors. And they're very simple to understand, and it has a picture attached with each behavior. So even people on the shop floor who cannot understand English or any language, they could just look at the picture and associate themselves with that, find resonance with it. So similarly, most established organizations, they have their own set of such behaviors. It may vary from sales and marketing to this, but the code is I think at the time of any decision making for anybody's career progression, there are three key behaviors which I see organizations see. First is the collaboration, then the agility, and the trust. Trust could be first also, but that comes with the time, right? And when I say collaboration, I mean it encompasses teamwork, empathy, listening skills, respect for individuals. I think that's very, very important now these days. We look for in people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Agility is another result orientation, which comes with speed and ingenuity of ideas. And then, of course, trust is the common glue across the team, and trust comes with time, as I said. So, more you collaborate, more trust you create within the team. And then, of course, your managers or higher ups, they start looking at you more as a team player,
Yeah,
and that's where the career progression happens.
absolutely. That's
And
so.
I think I would like to substantiate by giving an example of any technical expert who happens to be the subject matter expert. I remember we had many in one technology oriented organization where the collaboration was very poor with that particular person.
Mhm.
And he had a syndrome of, oh, I know it all and I'm the best,
Oh,
that
okay.
kind of
Yeah.
behavior, emotion or behavior. So, but his people skills were not very good. So, what do you think, Payal? Do you think he'll be a good manager or a people's person
Yeah.
for the higher role as his career progression? No. So I think he lost out on that opportunity. He was put on the uh, development center, on the individual development plan for another year or 2 years. And if I remember correctly, somehow it didn't work for him,
Oh, obviously.
and
Yeah.
he lost out. Yeah.
Mm.
So I had an opportunity to coach him. He used to approach me, what is happening? Can you do something? I say, unless and until you work on these areas, nothing can be, worked out in that way. So you be good in, as a subject matter expert, but then when you need to manage teams, you won't be
Mm.
good at that. So,
Ab-
I mean, we have to do a coaching in a different style and to convey the message to him, and
Absolutely.
help him improve. Yeah.
Wow. Nice way to put it, Seema. Seema, you shared so many nuggets. What would be your piece of advice to our listeners before we get into our next round of leadership rapid fire? What would be your one piece of advice to them?
I think one can improve their behavior by first acknowledging your emotion. So it
Mm.
starts with emotion in any particular situation. Second, when you start, acknowledging it, start investigating it. That why am I sad, or why am I unhappy? Why
Mm.
am I jealous? Or let's say even why am I happy out of any situation? So you'll get the response from within. And third, practice self compassion, because nothing can be done overnight. So if you know that I lose school, I have that little behavioral issue. People know. It's not that people don't know. So when you know that, start practicing that self compassion. Why do I get lose my cool? Because of what emotion, you know? And then practice these three steps again and again. And I'm sure everybody can come out of their own, you
Absolutely.
know, yeah, yeah.
So nice. I'm so glad you touched on this topic, of this behavior. Let's go into the leadership rapid fire, Seema.
Sure.
Great. Okay. So whatever comes on your mind, the very first word or a one-liner that comes immediately on top of your mind, that's what we want to hear from you immediately. Yeah. So,
Okay.
what's the one thing you wish you had known when you began your career?
Hmm. I think all this, what I've shared with you now, after so many years of my work ex, I wish I knew it from my initial years,
Hmm.
and I would have not failed so many times in different situations.
If
So
you
I
knew the
feel that.
behaviors, the importance of
Yes,
absolutely.
absolutely.
What's your personal mantra, a saying or a quote that helps you throughout the day?
The first foremost comes to me, never to be defeated,
Wow,
right?
that's nice. I
And
think you've lived up to that.
yeah. And second one is, if you're not progressing each day, be it in your knowledge, be it in your behavior improvement or something, then you're regressing every day. So
Hmm.
these two things I believe in, and I practice them to the T.
Wow, very nice. Which superpower would Seema choose? Invisibility or mind reading?
Actually, both Payal, because
You
invisibility
can choose
leads
only
to
one.
curiosity. No, because I know invisibility leads to curiosity, which is not
Okay.
visible to me about Payal. I would like to know more about Payal, right? And then to know more, and mind reading tells me that there is something invisible. So both, according to me, they go hand in hand.
I like how you've
Mind reading,
integrated them.
I mean, you asked me in such a way, so I love both of them.
Wow. If you could change one thing about the corporate world, what would that change be for you?
This is a serious one. And I honestly believe that along with logical mind, let people allow to express their emotions, use their emotional mind. Then it is, both minds working together. And it should be considered while any decision making. Or let's say if you engage your team members in any decision making, asking them also, of course, not asking them each and everything, but the important stuff, if you involve them, engage them, I think that will do wonders, and then we'll have the right fit for the right job. Otherwise, we'll continue fixing the circles and squares, and struggling with it, and then it's a vicious circle.
Very well put. Thank you so much, Seema, for being on the podcast and for sharing your insights and your incredible experience of so many years. It's been really a great talk with you here.
Thank you. Likewise, I enjoyed it too.
Thank you. And this one's for our listeners. This is Seema Bangia and Payal Nanchani wishing you loads